What's up, everybody? This is Norbcam coming at you on this final Blue Friday of the 2021-2022 season. It's kind of hard to believe that we're reaching that end. It really kind of hit me as I started getting ready for the show. As we're about to dive in for this final game, the Dive In with Dovin, to talk about the game we just had, and of course the one coming up here, the finale of the 2021 Seahawks season. So I want to bring in my special guest and of course sponsor of my show, Daniel Dovin. Daniel, how you doing, man? Yeah, well, it is a little bittersweet. Obviously, the season hasn't been what we all hoped it would be. I think we all thought at some point, okay, this is the week it's going to turn around. This is going to be the week it turns around. And it never really quite turned around. And whatever turnaround we're feeling now, it's just too little too late. But there's still always something good to be had from seeing the progress, because even if this season technically is going to be over soon, we can carry over some of the positive that we're seeing now, and hopefully that will translate into an even better season next year, no matter what happens in the midst of all these different potential changes that everybody has been talking about. So let's I guess talk a little bit about the good before we talk about this final game, the Lions game. We did a little show before the game, and I think we were all a little bit, doubtful about having a spectacular game. And then what happens? The Seahawks put a 50 burger up on the Lions, and could have put even close to 60 if they didn't take the foot off the gas pedal. But that was a really pretty surprisingly great performance by the Seahawks, and I just want to kind of get your take on what you thought of what you saw on Sunday. Oh, wait, hold on. Hey, Daniel, hold on a second. Hey, yeah, no, just realizing that. I got a little technical thing. Hold on a second. I realized we were kind of, we had been messing with the audio in the last program, so we have a few things that are a little bit out of whack. So let me just get that straightened out here as I'm, there's nothing like working out technical difficulties in the middle of a show. But I know what it is. I just got to make a quick adjustment here as I'll try to keep talking while, trying to work through these little issues that I have here. Okay, I figure out what it is. All right. Now, Daniel, are you there now? Go ahead and say
yes.
There we go. There you are. Sorry about that, everybody. I had the audio routed incorrectly. So, Daniel, everything that we heard you say earlier didn't quite hear. So I'm going to back it up a little bit, at least to the part where we're talking about this Lions game. What was your take on what you saw? A little rewind, deja vu. Go for it, Daniel. What did you really think now about that Seahawks-Lions game?
I thought it was great for us to put up a 50 burger. I think that it was great for the confidence of our offense leading up to next season and having that good positive momentum. That's something that DK Metcalf talked about in his press conference that he had yesterday as well. So I think it's great for Shane Waldron. And yes, a lot of naysayers are going to say, yes, it was against the Lions. They're a 2-win team. But honestly, it's still the NFL. And that's what we should do, is put up 51 points. So I was really happy to see that. Really happy to see 9 players catch the ball. It's great to see Rashad Penny put up 170 yards. And it was great to see just all the way around special teams, defense and offense making plays and actually playing some complementary football and having some good time of possession. It was a really solid game all the way around, and it would be great to win this week as well against Arizona and play potentially spoiler. They could, the Rams could win the division this Sunday, and that would be great to end the season for us on winning note. and increases the odds that we'll run it back with Russell. So my mind is slowly changing on that. Maybe you're right, Norb. Maybe they will run it back.
Oh, you're wavering back and forth on the whole thing. Well, I'm going to talk about. I'm going to read some sounds of, this whole week has been some interesting things being said and dissected every letter of some of the phrases coming out of Russell Wilson in particular's mouth, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But I'm going to linger a little bit more on this Lions game. Just talk about some of the spectacular things that we saw out of this. We won out of 29-20 in first downs, third down efficiency 7 for 12. When have we seen that before? Haven't we talked about, wouldn't we love to just be close to 50%, that we would actually probably win a game if we get to 50%? Well, in this game, we were not only just 50%, we were better than that, and look at the result. The other, one of the more important things that we've been talking about all year, time of possession. I think, again, one of those rare times where we won the time of possession game, 33 minutes to 26. And it just goes to show, if you can get those two things, the third down conversion and that time of possession, which Rashad Penny, man, running like a beast, man. He's just really trying to get paid now, because where everyone pretty much has written him off, boy, is he making a case to say, wait a minute, I ain't done, y'all. I still got some value here. So he's been definitely kind of changing a lot of people's minds and confusing a lot of us, too, who thought, okay, Rashad Penny, we know he's a bust. Suddenly it's like, wait just a second here. Maybe there's something left. So that was fantastic to see. What did he get? Like 100 and how many yards did he get rushing? It was 170. Yeah, it was one of his great performances. And like you said, the defense played a spectacular game. We got interceptions, 3 of them, in fact, and just dominating in almost every facet of the game. So that was just fun. A fun way to end the home season, just because we've had so much disappointment at Lumen Field, feeling almost like whatever happened to the home field advantage that we were so notoriously famous for. Almost like we had, not only was it not as strong as it used to be, it's almost like a negative. It's almost like better to play at home against us than on the road, because we had a better road record than at home. So it was nice to have a dominating one at home. Granted, it was against the backup quarterback and all those things, but it is hard to put 50 points on any NFL team. We hadn't done it since the 2012 season, before the Super Bowl that we won. So I think you can't take away when a team is humming and when you got the rhythm going, and everything's flowing. That's the result that you can get. So it was awesome, and I don't care if it didn't mean anything in terms of playoffs or whatever. I still, as a fan, it was just as fun as a game that could have meant, the deciding factor in moving on to the playoffs or something. It was just a great game to watch and be part of. So, all right. So now we'll put that kind of in the record books, and let's look ahead to this Cardinals game coming up. And like you said, we do have the opportunity to play spoiler, because the NFC West picture is not determined. Not only can the Rams take the division, I mean, it's really still up for grabs between the Cardinals and the Rams. So depending on what those two teams do, it's going to come down to this final game. So I don't think Arizona is going to be resting anybody against us. And then the Niners are still trying to get us. They could get knocked out. If they lose to the Rams, they could get knocked out of the playoffs entirely. So it's kind of weird emotions, right? Because this was a year where, Daniel, we could have had all 4 teams of the NFC West in the playoffs. It was, and we're the ones who spoiled the party. We're the ones who didn't make it. And it's so disappointing, because we were this close, 1-2 games early in the year, and we could have been in that NFC West playoff party. And unfortunately, we're the ones not invited to the dance. It sucks. But it's, so it's hard to know who to root for, because I don't like to root for any of these guys, right? I'd love to see the Niners get bounced out, really, because at the hand of us, because we swept them this year. At the same time, I don't like to root for the Rams, but I think I have to root for the Rams if I don't want the Niners to make it. And then I don't like the Cardinals either. I want to beat the Cardinals, but if we beat the Cardinals, we might give them the division. It might result in somebody else. The results in the Rams getting the division. So it's a weird deal. Who are you rooting for here, man? I mean, I think it goes first. We got to beat the Cardinals, because bottom line, we got to win our game just to make ourselves feel better. But I don't know. Is it? Do you want the Niners to make it in? Do you not want the Rams to get the division? It's kind of hard, right?
Yeah. For me, I feel that I'm not very annoyed with the Niners, because we've won the majority of the games against them in the last 10 years. So I don't really have much negativity against them. I'm also not afraid of them as a team. I think Jimmy G leading the charge, I'm like, they're not going to win the Super Bowl anyway. I think the Rams have a shot to go far, but I can't see them, going all the way unless Cam Akers is really 100%. But I'm not convinced. It's very rare, unless you're Tom Brady, for your first year new team to win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? So I don't think Matt Stafford's ready to go. That's my opinion. And then I think the Cardinals, they have the best chance when they're fully healthy, just given the fact that, DeAndre Hopkins hasn't played in forever, and he's the stud of studs. And I would say it'll come down to health for the Cardinals. But honestly, none of these teams I really think about, and the reason is because I don't think any of them will win the Super Bowl. I think the Bucks have a better chance of running it back. I think the Packers have a better chance than them this year, and that's just my opinion. I think the Seahawks really missed their opportunity, like you said, to join the party. It would have been a lot of fun, but again, for us, it came down to health as well. I think missing Carson and missing Jamal Adams and missing Russell at parts of the season, that is a recipe for missing the playoffs by a couple games.
Yeah.
So
no, we've
honestly, I don't really care about these teams.
Yeah, well, and you're right. When you're not in it, it's not like you really have much at stake. But all I really care about is the Seahawks finishing this season with a win. It would just be nice to stick it to the Cardinals since they stuck it to us. I'd like to see them stick it to one of our NFC West opponents one more time. It'd be great to finish on a 2-0 finale, just again to feel good going into the offseason. So we'll see if we get that gift. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges of this game coming up. For the Seattle, the unfortunately, the COVID and injury bug still continues to bite us, which is bit all year long. But as we all know, Bobby Wagner, on the first play of the game against the Lions, did the splits and kind of strained his knee. He's likely out for the game on Sunday. We also lost Ryan Neal, who stepped in for the injured Jamal Adams. He's out because of COVID, so he won't be playing. So again, we're playing shuffle the corner and the safety backs back there. And then I think Carlos Dunlap might be is questionable with potential injury. We've also got Brandon Shell's probably out, so it's going to be the rookie Jake Curhan in there. So we got some guys to look out for. John Reed, cornerback, got a concussion right now. Gabe Jackson's dealing with a knee. Will Disley dealing with a heel. So we'll see what we got, but we're definitely going to be hurting on defense, and that's going to be tough going against this time against Kyler Murray. Because if you recall, when we played the Cardinals the first time around, they didn't even have Kyler Murray. They didn't have DeAndre Hopkins, and they still end up beating us pretty bad. My question for you, man, is do you think that I don't know if it's just a Colt McCoy thing, because he's beaten us bad twice in two different teams 2 years in a row. Maybe, and we actually beat Kyler Murray when we played him. So maybe it's actually better that Kyler Murray's a quarterback instead of Colt McCoy, because Colt McCoy's a Seahawks killer right now. Doesn't make sense, but he is, right?
Well, I think it does make sense because our Seahawks defense has always been bad against a quarterback who can get all their checkdowns, right? Someone like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, they're scary because they can do both, right? They check it down when they need to, and then they can throw a bomb and hurt you with an explosive play. The thing about Kyler is he's still a little bit young, right? He's super explosive, right? He can run the ball for 26 yards for fun, or he can throw a 60-yard bomb, right, to A.J. Green or Christian Kirk or Hopkins, right? But with Colt McCoy, it's going to be dink and dunk forever. 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards. And I think that's always been the Achilles heel of the Seahawks, really, is playing really mature, calm quarterbacks who aren't going to turn the ball over. Because really, we've always been on the very explosive side, whether it's, hey, we won the turnover battle by 3, or someone dinked and dunked us to death. And the playbook's been out there for years because we've essentially had the same defense for the entire tenure of Pete Carroll's tenure here. So I think the book is out on us, but I am starting to think that a lot of the drama, on a side note here, Norb, I'm thinking a lot of the drama was from the media. I think it has been overblown, because I'm thinking about internally in that locker room, there's probably, excuse me, a lot of hope right now, just given if you win the last 2 or 3 games or the last 3 or 4 or whatever, they feel really good in the locker room, right? The offense is like, cool, we just put up 51 points. They don't look at it like the way we look at it as fans. Oh, it's just the Lions. Or the way the media looks at it. Let's find the storyline and see who has drama, right? They're in there just like, hey, we're professional athletes. We won the last game. Let's win the next one. And the media is always trying to get that little nugget of drama. But for them, that's why they say the same kind of nuanced statements every time, like it's all about execution, all we got is the next game, because that's how they have to think, and so I'm starting to really believe that everything is actually pretty chill, especially if we end the season 7-10 as opposed to 6-11. If we get demolished this game, that won't be good. But as far as we're 7-10 and we're like, hey, we had a bunch of injuries and now we have 30, 40, $50 million of cap space. Who knows what we can do with that? I don't know who's out there. I think that would be a nice next show though, Norb. Show ideas, us looking through, who's on the free agent market in places where we need, It can be fascinating. Check that out.
Yeah. Just an observation. Our for whatever reason, our internet connection today is not great. I'm not sure whether the shortcoming is. I was thinking maybe could you try just jumping out and jumping back in? I just want to see if maybe the connection will improve. Meanwhile, I'll kill some time here while you do that. But while Daniel's getting reconnected, hopefully we get a little bit better connection on his side of the things. I am getting read a little bit of some sound bites from Russell Wilson. I want to wait till Daniel comes back because I want him to make sure he can hear this, because I think it's probably where he's getting his thoughts that there is hope now, and why he's kind of changing his side of the fence as to whether to the Russell Wilson drama and rumors. He was pretty strong that that Pete Carroll was going to be gone and that it would be Russell Wilson's here. I think it changes from week to week in terms of the feeling. Like, what's the tone of things? Where is it? Really, who's going to go? Who should go? And based on what you hear them say, it's often very different from what the picture that the media portrays. So, again, as I'm waiting for Daniel to reconnect and before I read the soundbite, this weekend's games is just. It's pretty cool. One of the intriguing situations we have right now in regards to just playoff scenarios, you guys have probably heard it by now, but there is a situation where if the Indianapolis Colts lose to the Jaguars, I believe that's the situation we need, then the Chargers and the Raiders would be facing each other, and they could actually result in a tie game, and both teams would end up in the playoffs. And so if that first scenario actually happens, we could see a situation where the teams would both be motivated to just play for a tie. And I know the league doesn't want that because ties suck and there's nothing fun about ties. You take away the whole competitive nature on things. And so, it's it'll be interesting. I definitely will be scoreboard watching to see what might happen if we get down to that Sunday night scenario and you got these two teams with this sort of controlling their own destiny. Would they actually go so far as to not try to win? Now, I think the Raiders or the Chargers. The Chargers have the upper hand. I can't remember which way it goes, but it's just this is not very often where you have a situation where it actually would work out better for both teams to not try to win. So imagine how upset and how much this would affect the gambling side of things and everybody else who's got money on this game, for them to play their hearts out and to think that, what if this team's actually not even going to try to win it? I mean, that would really suck. And we see that often on these final games of the season when we have teams with already locked in playoff spots. They don't have anything to gain by winning, so they just rest their players. So we have seen it before, just not quite where it's so equal, where both teams are motivated to actually not win a game, the least exciting thing that you can possibly have. So I think Daniel's coming back here. Hopefully, you see if this connection is a little bit better as we work this out. I'm excited to tell you about this. There we go. Let's see. Where is Daniel? Daniel, there you are. Not sure if it's better.
Is it sounding okay?
You're moving a little smoother. Before, you're a little more choppier. The sound was breaking up a little bit. I can still understand you.
That.
No, it's okay. This looks a little bit better. Okay, so you were talking about, you were kind of waffling. You were kind of on, last week we were talking about it. Carroll's out. Russell Wilson's going to be here. I believe that was your stance, wasn't it? You and Squabo said the same thing.
I was like gluten-free waffling. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Gluten-free, whatever works. So there was some press conferences, in the usual press conferences, and I should preface this by saying Pete Carroll in multiple times has been asked, what do you think of the speculation that Russell Wilson wants to go, or that he's entertaining these, moving to other teams? And Pete Carroll just kind of says, I don't listen to it. I know what's going on inside our own locker room, so I don't even sweat it, because I know, basically saying I'm good with our situation here, because we know our room. So that's kind of Pete Carroll's side of things. Now, when you hear Russell, here's the latest one that everyone was dissecting yesterday, because I'm going to read the important part of his quote. So when asked in a press conference, somebody asked a pretty not easy. It wasn't a softball answer. It was the question. I don't think the question is here, but it was a question about since you have a no trade clause, why don't you go out and just say that you will be here in Seattle and that you won't be going anywhere else? And so his response was, well, I think, first of all, when it comes to no trade clauses in sports, the main reason is so that teams can't trade somebody to anywhere. That's the number one reason, right? In sports, you can wake up the next day and you're gone somewhere else. That's the number one reason. Going back to your main question, though, for me, what I'm really super passionate about, obviously, my goal is to win more Super Bowls, and my plan is to win them here. It's that simple, so there's nothing else really other than that. So you hear that, right? And you think, wow, that sounds good. Russell wants to stay in Seattle. He plans to win Super Bowls in Seattle. So the optimistic, like me, the glass half full guys are going to go, see? Nothing to worry about. Everything's good. Russell wants to stay in Seattle.
Here's the problem. The problem is we're not asking the right people. We're not asking John Schneider, and we're not asking Russell's agent. Russell's agent is a wild card here. I think John Schneider's probably open-minded. He's probably like, yeah, it'd be nice to save a bunch of money on cap space, but I'd also want to win more championships with Russell. I'm open to hearing. That'd be a GM thing to do. But the agent, he might be thinking, he might have his own agenda, or maybe Russell's told him the truth, and that's what an agent's for, right? Is to sort of leverage the situation. So I do think Russell has been advised. I think that his name in the media is not a bad thing, for his brand. I think that if you're stuck up in the Pacific Northwest, it's rare that New York talks, rare that LA talks about you in their media. So honestly, Russell's probably been pretty okay with all this going on. And at the end of the day, he's still under contract. Pete is under contract, and a lot of things have to fall into place. You still need a trade partner who's willing to give up 3 first-round draft picks and a starting linebacker. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that need to fall into place, and you need to be like, okay, do we really want to remove Russell's jerseys and all of his posters and all of his whatever media across all of our platforms? It would be a huge transition. So at this point, especially with DK in a better mood, the team's in a better mood, and Russell winning the Bart Starr Award, I think everyone's feeling a little bit better, including me, to be honest with you. So right now, I thought that was a great question by Corbin Smith. I think Corbin's always a really solid reporter. And so, yeah, I'm happy that was straight up. But like I said, I think Mark Rogers and John Schneider are really the wild cards. And Jody Allen's kind of a wild card. I think we know where Pete stands. Then we know where 90% of Russell stands, right?
Right.
The other 10% is the dark Russell who's meeting with Mark Rogers. Well, what if we did go to New Orleans? I don't know. So
right. There is always opinion. That, the Mark Rogers factor. And I guess what I try to put it to ease there is that he is still his agent. And it's not like Mark Rogers is suddenly going to make a trade happen and Russell go, what happened? Why am I going to Chicago or New York all of a sudden? When did this happen? Nothing's going to happen without his permission. So ultimately, whatever's happening, whether it's the intent by Russell, whether it's just the agent doing his own thing, throwing those little nuggets out there for the media to gobble up and analyze. Bottom line is it is going to come down to I think the only person who will take Russell out of Seattle is Russell. I don't think Schneider. I don't think Schneider. No, I really don't think. I don't think anybody in the right mind. I don't think Jody Allen. I don't think Russell, John Schneider, or Pete Carroll. I don't think any of those guys have any desire to move Russell and all his paraphernalia out of Seattle. I still think they know what they got. They're not ready to move on from him yet at this point. And the only one who could change that is if Russell, in his mind, his camp, his wife, and everybody's decided, I'm sick of the rain. I'm sick of being in Seattle. I want to be closer to a big market city. We got to move out of here, honey. And if that's his camp side, then they will force it to happen if they really want that. But I think that's the only person who wants that to happen, in my unknowing, no insider information opinion. But you're disagreeing on that standpoint? There's only Russell is the only one who could possibly take himself out of Seattle. So you're saying John Schneider or Jody Allen could be the wild card?
I don't think Russell can take himself out, even if he wanted to be honest with you, because Russell would have to be saying no to DK, to Tyler, to Chris Carson coming back, to Rashad Penny coming back, to he wants to be Derek Jeter, right? He wants to be the one team guy that has had no drama in his career, that's a Hall of Famer, that's beloved. I agree with Russell you. Wants that.
Yeah.
And all that stuff about Sierra, we don't know any of that stuff, if that's true. They have so much money, they can go wherever they want. They can have a house in LA if they want, in Vegas and New York. They don't need to be on the team to have whatever they want. Also, New York has a fat income tax. Okay, that's what rich people think about. They think about stuff like that. Well, what about the income tax? California has an income tax too. So even if you did make more money, you're still dealing with that. And it's not like, they're very well established here. I mean, their kids are going to school here. I think it's a little overblown. You know what really helps at the end of the day is winning. And the thing that I think has given everyone more hope is the running game, because when you have the running game going, what ends up happening is you play against less too high safeties. They got to bring someone else down. They pack the box with at least 8. And what ends up happening is now Russell looks at the field and he sees only one safety, and then they can have Tyler or DK one-on-one, or Gerald Everett one-on-one, or Freddie Swain or whoever one-on-one. And I think that's what's been happening lately, because Rashad Penny's been going off. When all of these defensive players are tired, at the end of the year, they look over and they see a bowling ball coming at him.
He's a big
Rashad
dude.
Penny's a big guy. He's not easy to tackle. He's like a solid 239 or something.
Yeah, he's almost 240. It's fast.
Yeah.
A really fast bowling ball.
Yeah. He's hard to tackle. And I will say this. Brandon Shell was solid his first year, I think, but I think he's had a bunch of ankle stuff. Injuries. I think Curhan is a much better run blocker. And the truth is, yes, we've been playing less good teams. They're not as good. I think Arizona's going to be a great test because you have a legitimate defensive line. We get to play against Chandler Jones. We haven't seen Curhan against Chandler Jones, and Rashad Penny trying to chip block Chandler Jones, and Colby Parkinson against Chandler Jones, right? So I guess what I'm saying is this will be a good opportunity to see if this new offensive lineup can go against a legit playoff Super Bowl contending line. Because if so, then they might want to run it back. Posic's been playing pretty good. I like D-Lou in there. Dwayne Brown, can he go one more year? I don't know. Curhan, and then
the suspense is killing
me. Him very often, but I think that's what's giving me hope that Russell will be back. Is the offensive line playing better, running game coming back, and obviously winning a few games. I think it sucks to lose, and everyone looks around. DK Metcalf even said weeks 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, he was like super upset that whole time. Yeah. And I think that things are looking up, and I'm not afraid to admit that I'm changing my mind about things as far as running it back again.
You have the right to change your mind and come to the light side of the force. So let me just respond to that. So when I say that only Russell could take himself out is because I don't think he's going to take himself out. I think he wants to be here. You look at the charity, he gave $2.7 million. Him and Sierra stood on that field before the Lions game, holding a check to donate to Seattle Children's Hospital, who he has been ever since day one, when he wasn't even famous yet. He started doing his children's hospital visits, already establishing that. So this is just building on the legacy that he started when he was just a rookie. And so seeing that, to me, is just more evidence that this is more than just a location. This is more than just I'll play here for now. There's so much more beyond the team. There's so much more roots they have here in Seattle. So when I say that, I'm saying it because I don't think anyone else wants that to happen, and I really don't think Russell does either. I just am saying if he really, for some reason, wanted to leave, he could force that hand and make it really uncomfortable, but he would be ruining his legacy, his whole relationship here. He'd be spoiling his relationship and legacy with the fans. The fans would turn on him if he pulled the old, I'm going to just sit on the bench and pout until I get traded. He won't do that. That's not in his makeup. So that's why I keep standing by my guns that I think they're going to bring the whole kit and caboodle back next year. And I'm sticking with that, especially
question now. Do you think if they run back the entire offense and supplement it, do you think they'll bring back Bobby?
That's the tough one. Even Bobby was in his press conference pretty optimistic, saying he's I think he used that word, optimistic, about coming back to Seattle. Now, of course, at a press conference, no one's going to say really what they really think or what they know. They're just going to say what sounds good and can kind of just keep the media at bay. I don't know if there's any chance that Bobby Wagner, could he rework his deal? Could he possibly just kind of know the situation and go, well, you know what? I don't want to play anywhere else. I don't want to end up like KJ. I want to stay here, finish my career with Seattle. Yeah. Can he make that number a little bit better somehow? And I don't know if players are inclined to do it. They certainly aren't obligated to. But I would love to think that he would.
I think Bobby might be representing himself, which I think it does make things even harder for both sides, because one good thing about having an agent is it's a buffer, right? And hopefully both parties can be really, really honest with the agent, and then the agent can translate it in a way that does, make sense to both parties, as opposed to being like, okay, Bobby, well, the truth is, like, we did this analysis on your knee and we think that you have a 40% chance of blowing it out in the first 8 weeks. Like, they're not going to say that, but they might say that internally with their team doctors, and they might use that number to come back to Bobby's agent, if he had one, and say, hey, so we'd love to rework the deal. Instead of like 17 million, like we can offer, 12 million, but it's all guaranteed up front. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is an added layer that might be a problem. Another problem for Bobby versus the Russell situation is that there is a very clear heir apparent to his position on the team, but there's not that for Russell. That's why the chances of Russell leaving are much lower. But with Bobby, there are a couple young linebackers that are chomping at the bit, so, and don't get me wrong, I don't want Bobby to leave. I think Bobby is an all-time, not only just Seahawk, but he's definitely a Hall of Famer, and he's been one of my favorite players on and off the field forever. Ninja, man. But I do think that there's a high chance that the contract, the way that it's structured right now, is not going to stay. I think it does need to be reworked. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen. It's a lot.
Isn't it like over 20 million or something like that with the cap hit? It's a lot to, even for a guy like him. But that's why I'm hoping they could find some way. And I didn't know about him representing himself, but the fact that he doesn't have an agent, he's cutting out the middleman. There's a percentage that he doesn't have to pay the agent. So, for whatever that amount would have been. So
I heard sports agents make like 6%. It's pretty high.
Yeah. I mean, it's a chunk. So I don't know if that factors into it, but I think the discussion really shouldn't be about will Russell be back next year. It is Bobby. I mean, he's the one who's got more going against the likelihood of him coming back, because this is going to be that year. Russell really's got more on his contract than Bobby does. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But they really need him. And it was terrible that he got injured on this second to last game, because we were just talking about what an Iron Man he was, how he played 100% of the snaps all season, and he's been such a freaking just unbreakable until that he did the splits at the wrong time on that field on the first play of the game. Yeah. And he should have finished the year out, and unfortunately that just caught up to him in a just bad luck kind of way. So we'll see. But that is, I hope that's not the last we've seen of Bobby Wagner in a Seahawks uniform. It would be terrible. And it seems like a lot of the guys who have left, who are kind of legendary players here, have left in similar fashion, where they left because an injury took them off the field and they never came back in a Seahawks uniform again. I hope he doesn't fall to that situation as well. But yeah, I'm glad to hear your optimism, man. There's so much stuff, and I wanted to add something to it. You talked about the whole idea about the running game and how the running game complements Russell, and then how it works with his passing game. You talk about the two high safeties. That's the whole thing that the teams were using against us last year, when the second half of the year, when things started to kind of go downhill. We couldn't break that, and they kind of shut down the full passing game. And when the running game wasn't happening, it just was like one big thing that just would not go. We're starting to see how it could work now. And that whole two high safety thing and running the ball and then throwing it deep when you get the opportunities. I've been playing a lot more Madden. Like last night, I played, I think 3 or 4 games last night, up into the wee hours, and I won them all. Some of them, I wish I was recording, because one of them I won with like 1 second left. Another one I won because a guy ran out of time before he could kick a field goal. I mean, it was exciting. But what made me really appreciate what you just talked about was, I've never, until I started playing this, really appreciated what it meant. When I go up to line of scrimmage and I see two high safeties, I'm freaking going to the run. I'm running, and I'm breaking through 5 yards, 8 yards, and then when they put that safety up there, boom, I hit him with DK or lock it down the field, and I explode for a big touchdown. And that is really, it's like I'm foreseeing what this offense could do, and I'm controlling it myself, and I'm going, if I could do it in Madden, if that formula finally comes together, we're going to see that again explode in 2022. So it's fun to see it and be part of it, playing it, simulating it. But the real thing, we're starting to see it now. But like you said, the real test is, can they do it against a legit team who's motivated, who's in the playoffs, and looking to try to go deep. But speaking of motivation, there's an interesting thing you guys got to watch. I heard that Marcus Golden, one of the outside linebacker for the Cardinals, he has a incentive in his contract. If he gets 2 sacks in this game, it'll trigger a $1 million payout.
Whoa!
So 2 sacks equals $1 million. Now, so Marcus Golden, number 44, keep your eye on him, because if there's a guy out there who's going to be playing his butt off. Man, Daniel, you and I, put the Seahawks uniform and say, hey, Norb, if you can get to sort of quarterback twice, each one's worth $500,000. You want to try it?
I would be in the neutral zone every play.
Right? So he's going to be,
let's go!
So he's going to be motivated. It'll be interesting to watch that chess match. But at the same time, maybe they can exploit that. He might be over-aggressive. Maybe he's going to try to overplay and be too aggressive down, trying to get to the quarterback. But maybe we can exploit that with the
They're going to
draw
put
play.
him on Curhan every single play just to test him. Like Curhan and Posick, Delu, just the young guys,
Yeah.
Dude, so there's some teams that encourage that, and they actually, want their players to get it. Other teams, they're like neutral, they'll play it normal, and then if someone hits an incentive, they do. And then there's teams like Antonio Brown is accusing the Bucs of doing some shady stuff, and that